Okay, folks, I screwed up and I forgot to bring the camera up with me. So I wanted to show you. So we've plumbed the 1-inch inline. You'll see there's a shutoff valve right back here. So we have the in and the out. The 1-inch fittings, these stores around here only carry them in brass. A little more money, no big deal. So part of the thing, I've said this before, on being a contractor is scheduling. So I've had to realize who's coming. The guy who's coming supposedly this week to do the septic and scrape off the driveway is also going to connect the water line and the electrical to my well. So you'll see here, not unlike my pressure switch on the air compressor, we have a pressure switch for water. And these two make contact with each other, and these two make contact with each other. So I just realized my battery is fairly low, but I'll try to get this in. Okay, so if you look at this wire real carefully, you'll see it's stranded wire, or THHN is the wire designation. THHN does not fasten under screws well. So we're going to do something called tinning the wires. And what you see here is some good old-fashioned flux. And you're going to see me fire up a MAP gas torch here in a minute. When you do this, it's really important not to get the insulation melted. So you hold the torch flame out here on the end, get the copper warm, and you just dribble the solder out over the end of the wires. And it'll take you a while to get this. This one's being a particular pain. Let's put a little more flux on there. Once you get them warm, the flux almost doesn't seem to stick. There it goes. Now you can see it melting. The reason you do this, tinning the wires together, is so that they don't come out from under the screws. The more those wires come out from under the screws, the less capacity you have to conduct your electricity. Now this would be easier if you use a little thicker wire, but then it's a little harder to melt, so kind of a coin flip here. You don't have to get carried away. Just enough to hold it together will do it. And since my battery's weak, you get the idea. I'm gonna do this and I'll bring you back and show you the final hookup here in a minute. So something else I should show you is what you see right back here. That's called a spooler. And it's got all kinds of different THHN wire on it. Mostly black, white, green, and there is some red. Those are the colors I use for what I do. Although they make it in almost every color of the rainbow. And what you do, let's see if I can get this set up, is you get all three wires you're going to use the same length. And I'm using liquid tight conduit here, even though it's not required. I had a bunch left over from a job, And these are fairly short runs, so you can just push it in. And when it pops out the other end, which it just did, you're done. Again, I want to emphasize this, the reason I'm getting this done tonight is when the guy shows up to do all the dirt work, he can go ahead and hook the well pump up to this circuit, and I can turn it on here. Right now it's being run off my barn, but I want to have it up here at the house because I've got a whole house generator going in when the house is done. So you can see, hopefully I've got those wires tinned, and I'll bring you back when I get the rest of this done and show you the end result. So forgive me for the light, but we have your two whites hooked together here, your two blacks hooked together here, you got your two grounds down there in the bottom. And what happens is, as soon as the pressure switch closes, because there's not enough pressure, it sends power to the pump. Now, one thing I did want to mention too, for all of you that think you can run your own electrical wire, certain things have to be taken into consideration. Length of the wire is one. This particular wire, by the time it leaves the breaker box, comes to the pressure switch, goes out of the pressure switch, out to the pump. We've got a total of almost 600 feet. Whenever you go over 300 feet, you're supposed to upsize the wire. This pump, my pump pulls 7 amps, which technically you could get by with 14 gauge wire. However, because I'm so far, I upsized 2 sizes, and my wire is 10 gauge. The lower the number, the bigger the wire in electrical, if you didn't know that. So that's why I've upsized to 10 gauge. So there's more to wire than just connecting it from A to B. For instance, my entrance cable into this place, the main power wire, that's 400 feet. It was supposed to be 4/0, 4/0, 2/0, and then number 1 for the ground. You have to pull 4 wires today. My wire is actually 250 MCM, 250 MCM, 3/0 for the neutral, 1/0 for the ground. And 0 is just a bigger size wire, if you didn't know that. So we're going to hook these conduits up to that box up there with the wires sticking out of it. And we're going to call it a night because it's getting pretty late and pretty dark. So I just wanted to get as much of that in as I could. And that way when he shows up, we're ready to hook this up and have water powered off of our house instead of our barn. So thanks for watching, and we'll get all this edited and get it up probably in 2 or 3 episodes.